How much of your day is spent trying to manage choices that are not yours? You rewrite a message because you are afraid of how someone might take it. You remind an adult about something they already know they need to do. You rehearse an argument in your head, hoping that if you find the perfect words, they will finally agree with you. And when they do not, your entire body acts as if something has gone terribly wrong. That is the strange part about control. It promises that you will feel safer once everyone behaves the right way, but instead, it makes your peace dependent on people you cannot control. What if freedom does not begin when they finally change? What if it begins when you stop treating their choices as your job? Hi, I'm Sarah, and this is WiseMind Stories. Mel Robbins' book, The Let Them Theory, is built around two short phrases. The first is, let them. The second is, let me. Most people remember the first one, but the second one is where your power comes back. Rachel learned that in the lobby of a Chicago hotel at 8:07 on a Tuesday morning. She was sitting beneath a glass chandelier with 2 coffees, a leather folder, and a printed copy of her daughter's resume. The interview was scheduled for 8:30. At 8:09, her phone buzzed. It was a message from her 24-year-old daughter, Maddie. I withdrew from the interview last night. I'm on the train home. Please don't call the company. Rachel read it 3 times. Then she called Maddie. No answer. She called again. Then she went upstairs and knocked on the door of the hotel room they had shared. The bed was made. Maddie's suitcase was gone. On the desk sat the navy blazer Rachel had bought for the interview. Rachel felt as if her daughter had just walked away from a burning building while refusing to be rescued. She called 11 times in 19 minutes. On the 12th call, Maddie answered. "What are you doing?" Rachel demanded. "Going home." "I can see that. Why did you cancel?" Maddie was quiet for a moment. Rachel could hear the low rattle of the train. "Because I never wanted the job." "Then why did you apply?" "Because every time I said I wasn't interested, you explained why I was wrong." Rachel stood in the empty hotel room, still holding the resume. "This is one of the best consulting programs in the country. You worked for months to get this interview." "You worked for months," Maddie said. "You rewrote my resume. You called your friend who knows a recruiter. You booked the hotel. You even picked the suit. I was helping you. Every time I make a choice you don't understand, you turn it into an emergency." The sentence landed harder than Rachel expected. She wanted to argue. She wanted to remind Maddie about rent, health insurance, retirement accounts, and every humiliating job Rachel herself had accepted at 24 because no one had offered her the luxury of finding her passion. Instead, Maddie said, "I took a production job with the Youth Documentary Project. I start next month." Rachel closed her eyes. The job paid less than half of what the consulting program offered. "That is not a career plan." "It is my plan." Then the call ended. Rachel stood alone with 2 coffees, a hotel bill, and a future she had designed for someone who did not want it. Maybe you recognize her fear. You can see the mistake another person is about to make. You can already imagine the consequences. And because you love them, your mind produces a convincing argument. If I do not stop this, I am failing them. But there is a difference between offering wisdom and trying to take possession of someone else's decision. Rachel had spent years crossing that line without noticing. She was 48 and worked in hospital operations. She was good at anticipating problems. If a department was short-staffed, she saw it before the schedule broke. If a vendor missed a deadline, she already had a backup plan. Her competence had protected her family through layoffs, medical bills, and the years when money was counted down to the final $20. Control had not always been a personality flaw. Once, it had been a survival skill. But survival skills do not automatically know when the emergency is over. When Maddie was 12, Rachel checked every assignment online. At 16, she tracked her location. In college, she edited emails to professors that Maddie had never asked her to read. Each action seemed small, responsible, even. Together, they carried a hidden message. I trust my fear more than I trust your ability to handle your own life. Rachel called this love. Maddie experienced it as surveillance. That evening, Rachel told her husband, Tom, what had happened. She expected him to be angry with Maddie. Instead, he asked, "Did she ever tell you she wanted that job?" She needed a real option. That wasn't my question. Rachel began listing the salary, the training, the health plan, and the name of the firm. Tom waited until she stopped. You think you are solving her future, he said. But most of the time, you are solving your anxiety. Rachel did not speak to him for the rest of the evening. The next morning, she woke up at 4:40 and drafted a 4-paragraph message to Maddie. It began with, I respect your decision. Then it spent 600 words explaining why the decision was irresponsible. She did not send it. For the first time, Rachel tried the first half of the framework. Let Maddie choose a lower-paying job. Let her misunderstand Rachel's intentions. Let her make a decision Rachel would never make. Let her learn what the decision costs. Let them does not mean the choice is wise. It does not mean you approve. It means you stop arguing with the fact that another adult has the right to choose. Acceptance is not approval. Acceptance is where an honest response begins. Rachel lasted 6 minutes before her mind found a new problem. If I let her do this, am I supposed to keep paying her rent? What if she asks for money? What if the project fails? What if she blames me for not stopping her? This is exactly why the theory has a second half. Let me decide what support I am willing to provide. Let me say what I believe once, clearly and without a campaign. Let me set a financial boundary. Let me stay connected without becoming the manager of her life. Let me put my energy back into the choices that are actually mine. Let them without let me can sound like resignation. Let me turns acceptance into agency. 3 days later, Rachel asked Maddie to meet her at a coffee shop. She left the resume at home. Maddie arrived guarded, as if she expected an ambush. Rachel had rehearsed what she wanted to say. This time, the goal was not to produce the right reaction. I still think the consulting interview was a strong opportunity, she began, and I would have chosen it. Maddie looked down at the table. But it was not my interview, Rachel continued. You are allowed to choose the documentary job. You are also responsible for what comes with it. Maddie looked up. Rachel explained that she would not cover rent indefinitely or make emergency calls to fix problems at work. She would help Maddie look at a budget if Maddie asked. She would be available for advice, but she would not contact an employer, rewrite an application, or arrange an opportunity unless she was invited to help with one specific step. Are you trying to punish me? Maddie asked. No. I am trying to stop pretending that support means removing every consequence. Maddie considered this. That is all I wanted, she said. I wanted the choice to actually be mine. Rachel had expected gratitude to feel warmer. Instead, she felt grief. If Maddie's life belonged to Maddie, then Rachel had to face the empty space left behind. For years, she had treated her daughter's future like a project because projects were easier than uncertainty. A project had deadlines, action items, and measurable progress. A person could listen to everything you said and still choose differently. Trying to control someone's choices is one way of handing them control of your peace. Their delay ruins your morning. Their opinion rewrites your confidence. Their disappointment changes your decision. Their silence decides whether you can sleep. The let them theory interrupts that exchange. It asks you to separate three things that often get tangled together. What can I control? What can I influence? And what can I only observe? Rachel could control her words, her money, her time, her boundaries, and whether she called the consulting firm. She could influence Maddie by asking questions, sharing experience, and behaving with respect. She could only observe what career Maddie chose and how other people reacted to it. Influence leaves the other person free. Control keeps applying pressure until freedom disappears. A boundary belongs in the first category. It is not a tool for forcing another person to choose differently. It is a statement about what you will do next. You cannot take that job as an attempt to control. I will not finance this choice beyond the end of the lease is a boundary. You need to calm down is control. I will continue this conversation when we can speak without insults is a boundary. You have to understand me is control. I will explain myself once, then let your opinion belong to you is agency. The opposite of control is not indifference. It is clarity. There are also moments when let them should not become a slogan. It is not a reason to ignore abuse, harassment, discrimination, legal responsibility, a child's safety, or an immediate danger. In those situations, act, leave, intervene, report. Protect the person who cannot protect themselves. And it is not an excuse to avoid a necessary conversation. If someone's behavior affects your life, you can name it. You can make a request. You can set a consequence. You can end the relationship. Let them simply means you stop believing that the perfect explanation will remove the other person's freedom to choose. Their reaction is information. It is not an instruction. Over the next 2 months, Maddie's new job was not the inspiring success story Rachel secretly feared it would become. The hours were long. The project lost part of its funding. Maddie's supervisor changed the schedule with almost no notice. One Thursday night, she called Rachel and said, "I think I made a mistake." Rachel's old reflex returned instantly. She opened her laptop. She remembered a contact at another firm. She was halfway through saying, "I told you this would happen," before she stopped. Then she asked a different question. "Do you want me to listen, help you think it through, or help with one specific step?" Maddie was quiet. "Help me think." For 20 minutes, Rachel asked questions. What part of the job was difficult because it was new? What part violated what Maddie had been promised? What had she learned that she wanted to keep? What would she do if she did not need to prove her mother wrong? Maddie decided to stay through the end of the current project while applying to 2 paid editing roles with benefits. It was not Rachel's plan. It was not the disaster Rachel had imagined either. It was an adult making a choice, collecting information, and making another choice. When Rachel stopped editing Maddie's life, something unexpected happened. She could finally see how little attention she had been giving her own. 6 months earlier, a regional role had opened at the hospital. Rachel had told herself the timing was impossible. Maddie was graduating. The family needed stability. It was not the right year. But the truth was simpler. Rachel was afraid she might not get it. Managing Maddie's risk had protected her from taking one of her own. So she opened the application. Let Maddie build her career. Let the hiring committee have an opinion. Let Tom think the new role might be too demanding. Let me apply anyway. That is the full theory. Not, let everyone do whatever they want while you disappear. But, let reality be real, and let yourself respond from choice instead of panic. If you want to use this today, begin with one situation that is consuming too much of your energy. Write down the sentence your mind keeps repeating. They should call me back. They should understand why I am upset. They should take this opportunity. They should not be angry with me. Now finish 2 sentences. Let them name the choice, opinion, feeling, or reaction that does not belong to you. Then write, let me name one action that does belong to you. Let them decline the invitation. Let me invite someone who wants to come. Let them be disappointed by my boundary. Let me keep it without writing a 5-page defense. Let them choose the harder road. Let me decide what support I can offer without taking over. Let them misunderstand me. Let me make sure I am not misunderstanding myself. The question is not whether you can stop caring. The question is whether you can care without trying to control the outcome. Rachel did not become relaxed overnight. She still drafted messages she never sent. She still felt a surge of panic when Maddie announced a decision without consulting her. But she had a place to put that energy now. Let them. That is their life. Let me. This is mine. In the comments, complete both lines with one situation from your life. Let them. Let me. Because peace does not come from finally getting everyone under control. It comes from no longer abandoning your own life to manage theirs. And sometimes the hardest person to let have an opinion is the person whose judgment you fear the most. That is where we will go next. Why one person's reaction can ruin your entire day, and how to stop putting your confidence in someone else's hands.